Coming up at 1, it's Matt Stadler, but next on LBC, it's Nick Abbot.
Beverly, let me mansplain this to you. A response balloon to the one that graced our skies featuring a baby Donald Trump has been flown over London, featuring Sadiq Khan seductively reclining in a bikini. And you can imagine how many British Trump supporters turned out for that. All of them. Schools are reducing the amount of physical exercise they put their children through. We're fattening them up like turkeys for Christmas. And it's scroll-free September, which means you won't be looking at social media for the next 4 weeks. Will you? All that and more coming up with me, Nick Abbot, after the new news at 10 on LBC.
On your radio, on your phone, and here.
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 10 o'clock, a memorial service has been held in Washington for the US Senator and war hero John McCain. Tributes were led by former Presidents Barack Obama and George W. Bush. John McCain's daughter used her eulogy to call out President Trump, who criticised Mr. McCain's time in a concentration camp after he was captured fighting in the Vietnam War.
We gather here to mourn the passing of American greatness. The real thing, not cheap rhetoric from men who will never come near the sacrifice he gave so willingly, nor the opportunistic appropriation of those who lived lives of comfort and privilege while he suffered and served. He was a great fire who burned bright.
Well, President Trump played golf as the service took place. A man has been arrested on suspicion of attempted murder after a woman in her 20s was stabbed on a busy street in North London. It happened on Caledonian Road in Islington just after 10 this morning. It's now been revealed that the ambulances and police cars used in the response to the Novichok poisonings in Wiltshire have been buried. They've been sealed in a hazardous landfill site in Gloucestershire. The government says there's no risk to the public. 3 men and a woman thought to be from Iran have been rescued from a small inflatable dinghy off Kent. They were spotted by the crew of a fishing boat as they drifted in the English Channel, where it's thought they'd been for days. Skipper Matt Coker says he knew something was wrong as soon as he saw them.
They were waving just oars, and then as we got closer they had T-shirts on the oars and they were frantically waving then, and I sort of thought, you know, there was obviously something amiss, and we got alongside and the dinghy was full of water.
A murder investigation has been launched in Birmingham after a man who was shot in a car last weekend died. Detectives say the 33-year-old was targeted in the Lee Bank area on Saturday and died in hospital earlier today. Celebrities who use legal schemes to avoid paying tax could be missing out on honours like knighthoods. The Times has reported that HM Revenue and Customs is sharing information with the Cabinet Office over people's tax records. Lib Dem leader Sir Vince Cable says it's great things are now more transparent.
Can't understand why the government were trying to cover it up. I mean, it's perfectly reasonable to say, you know, if somebody's getting an honour, it isn't just for the contribution they've made to the country, but that they, you know, dodging taxes is clearly something that one holds in the balance.
LBC weather: cloudy with patchy rain across the north and west tonight, dry and clear elsewhere, a low of 12 degrees. Tomorrow overcast with some rain in the west, dry and warm across the rest of the UK, a high tomorrow of 25 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Zora Suleiman.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
This guy is sick. There's something wrong with this guy. Now, I just wanted to really say that I love you. I respect you. There's nobody I respect more. You're going to do a fantastic job.
Thanks, Donny. That means nothing coming from you. As Britain enters meteorological autumn, forecasters say we could see warmer than average conditions next week, with temperatures rising to 82 Fahrenheit, and a possible return to drier and more settled weather. The country's going to see increasing amounts of sunshine and slightly warmer temperatures, which could reach 24 centigrade tomorrow. Now, you double the centigrade and add 32 to get feet. So that's double 24 is 48, and add 32 is 80. So the temperature could reach 80 feet tomorrow. Can you believe that? Oh, God. Already it's broken. Not 5 minutes in. Can you believe that?
No.
Yeah, I thought so. Met Office forecaster Nikki said, we're looking at the potential for high pressure to start building from the start of next week, which could indicate that we're going to return to more settled conditions. And the important word in that sentence is could. She's saying she doesn't know. Met Office forecaster Nikki said that the conditions will be determined by where the high pressure system sits, adding at the moment confidence isn't particularly high. We're not saying it's definitely going to happen, so it might not. I thought this is what they did for a living. You know, they have a computer the size of a football pitch. I think that's actually true. I mean, it seems hard to believe that such a thing even exists. And where would they put it? On a football pitch. But they have a computer the size of a football pitch in order to figure out what the weather is going to do. And every day they say, we don't know. They can tell with some accuracy what the weather was like yesterday. But as for tomorrow, they're like, well, I don't know. What are you asking us for? The Met Office's long-range weather forecast for the middle of September predicts... is anybody actually interested in this?
No.
They don't know what's going to happen next week, but they're busy predicting what's going to happen towards the end of September. Well, you know, it amuses me, so let's just see what they'll say. Because if they say it's going to be super fantastic, then that will make me all fuzzy and warm. But if they say that it's going to be absolutely dreadful and awful, then I'll believe every word that they say. So their long-range forecast for the middle of September predicts a good deal of dry and warm and settled weather. How about that? It will be interspersed with spells of wet and windy conditions, but we'll ignore the part of the forecast that said that, and maybe it won't happen. Met Office forecaster Simon says, the air has been coming from the south and the west, but the winds are due to come around to a more northwesterly flow over the next few days, bringing chilly nights with the possibility of some localised ground frost. Ground frost? Come on! It's the middle of summer. Towards the end of the week, prevailing winds will come back around to south and southwesterly directions, and the high pressure is likely to build. That sounds pretty good to me. He says we're looking at temperatures in the low to mid 20 centigrades, that's the mid 70s Fahrenheit, in proper temperature. And southern areas will be basking, which is exactly what northern people say of those from the south. A bunch of baskers. The Met Officers say that until the middle of September it's going to be largely fine and settled across much of the UK. Now, I took a quick peek about what they said that's going to happen between now and the end of September. The next 4 weeks. Or would you like to know what they say? The outlook till the end of September, they say that during the second half of the month, indications are that the weather pattern will change only slowly, thus maintaining a good deal of dry and warm weather. However, spells of more changeable weather will come increasingly likely as the month progresses, but we don't listen to anything that follows the word however. Meanwhile, listeners in Glasgow will have their own weather.
Correct.
I expect it's raining right now. I can't be bothered to look. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. So there was a big balloon over London, an answer balloon to the baby Trump balloon. The bikini-clad Sadiq Khan blimp took flight over Parliament Square, and its unveiling was attended by hundreds of thousands of Donald Trump supporters. No, just kidding, there were more journalists there than there were people for them to report on. That was embarrassing. No one showed up. I mean, it's not like you can give the same reason that no one showed up for the Pope. They said, it's got nothing to do with, the wholesale raping of children. It was the weather what did it. It's the weather that kept people away. Sure, that's the reason. They roped off most of Ireland in order to accommodate the vast crowds that were going to go and see His Holiness the Pope, and no one showed up. It's about 6 people, 3 of which were lost, looking for directions. You know, but it's got nothing to do with the wholesale raping of children. They apologise for that, so they get a pass. I've said this before, but I'm just going to go off on a tangent here. This has nothing to do with what I'm going to talk about. But if it was any other business, if it was a burger chain, for instance, that had been implicated and found guilty of not only the wholesale raping of children, but also the covering it up afterwards, do you think that they would still exist on any high street, in any town, in any land? Do you think that parents would be dropping their little kids off while they nip off to the shops and telling them to have a nice time? Of course not. But, you know, because they believe in a big, a grand invisible space wizard, they get a pass. Oh, God told me to do it. But finally, even that country, the most Catholic of all countries on earth, I think, even they are finally managing to get out from the dark cloud of religion. Every day in every way, the human race gets better and better, doesn't it? Well, not really. But we'll take small progress where we can find it. Hey, do I sound a little bit like Barry White?
No.
A little bit like Barry White. Hey, baby. That's the only benefit I can think of that comes with having a sore throat. Not that I'm complaining about my illness.
Stop whining.
Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, the grand unveiling of the Sadiq Khan balloon. And I was wondering about this because this has been rumbling and rumbling. A couple of people, maybe three at the most, were very upset when the Donald Trump blimp. Of course, the words blimp and Donald Trump sit really well in the same sentence. The Donald Trump blimp was flown over London when the Orange Nightmare came over here for, whatever the hell it was he was here for, to advertise his Scottish golf club. That's exactly what it was. Like he doesn't make enough money already.
I make $400 million a year, so what difference does it make?
Yeah, sure you do, Donnie. Let's see your tax returns. The reason that he doesn't want anybody to see his tax returns, by the way, is because he files them in rubles. I think you'll find that is completely correct in every respect. And he's going to start a war before anybody gets to take a peek at those, because he is just one giant orange distraction machine.
I'll bring us into war.
Yeah. I'm amazed that he hasn't tweeted about either of those funeral ceremonies. The Aretha Franklin ceremony, which looked like a fantastic show, apart from anything else, and the John McCain ceremony, in which he was thrown massive shade. And it did look like there was something missing there. If you look at the pictures of the ex-presidents at the John McCain funeral ceremony, there was Bill Clinton, and there was Obama. You remember Obama when, the world seemed to make sense. And there was George W. Bush.
Absolutely.
He was there too. But there was a presidential gap. A big, fat, orange gap. Huge, enormous gap it was. You could have put in an extra row of people, it was such a big gap. But he was crossing his arms and fuming and sulking like I'm not saying that, the President of the United States is a big baby, but... I see it and I say it. So that picture of him folding his arms at his desk when he was being peppered with questions about why aren't you... And journalists are, what would we do without journalists? Fake news. But they were peppering him with questions that they knew he wasn't going to answer. Why haven't you said anything about John McCain, Mr. President? And he folds his arms like he's a 5-year-old. Anyway. And before you call and say I should give respect to the office of the President of the United States of America, I will when he does. How does that sound? So anyway, the bikini-clad Sadiq Khan blimp took flight over Parliament Square, and its unveiling was attended by, I think, almost nobody at all. There was a few furious-looking, large, scary, shaven-headed men, and a couple of bemused tourists who had absolutely no idea what was going on.
What the hell is going on?
They said. Meanwhile, the campaigner who organised the event was forced to deny being anti-Semitic because of posts on his social media feeds.
Fabulous.
Oh, my God. Is there anybody who in Britain who has not been accused of anti-Semitism or racism recently?
No.
Usually, by the way, by people in the Conservative Party. Which, I don't know whether anybody else has said this so far, but I find slightly humorous. As though the Tories are a model of inclusiveness and tolerance. You know, the people at the bar in the golf club. Those people. Those open-minded folks. So an invisibly small crowd of supporters gathered outside the Palace of Westminster in central London to see this giant inflatable this morning, bought with the money that the organisers had raised. They raised more than £58,000 apparently, and if that tiny balloon cost £58,000 to make, I'm a Led Zeppelin.
Rock and roll!
So this is about the London Mayor Sadiq Khan, who defended flying baby Donald Trump balloon in the same place during the Screaming Mimi's visit in July. It's called free speech, Donald. Get used to it. Sadiq Khan, of course, was absolutely furious that somebody would have gone to the trouble of making an effigy of him and embarrassing him in public. No, of course he wasn't, because he's not a baby. He laughed at it. He laughed it off. So there's £58,000 well spent. He brushed off the effigy, saying that the yellow of the bikini he was depicted wearing might not be his colour. Ha ha, charade you are. Donald Trump, of course, reacted to his dirigible in his trademark grown-up manner. Yeah, apart from being Trump fans, this protest today was supposedly about crime in London and about how, as a mayoral candidate, Sadiq Khan said that he would do anything in his power to curtail stop and search. But what they didn't say was what subsequently happened. And I'll get to that in just a minute. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. You better call me because I'm starting to get lost in the sexiness of my sore throat, the sound that my illness is making. I might invite myself out to dinner before the end of this show. 0345 6060 973. Nick Abbot, LBC.
Who do you think you're talking to?
I've got no idea. Is this thing even on? Hello? Jim in Hassocks says, for goodness sake, don't press any buttons. I'd like to listen to the programme through to the end. You probably suffer from the same affliction as I do. If I go within 3 feet of any technology, it crashes or catches fire. In fact, you probably won't receive this message. That would probably be a good idea if I just restrained myself from touching anything. Simon says, did anyone think that the Sadiq Khan blimp looked more like Jose Mourinho? Did Jose Mourinho lose again today? Don't tell me. Gosh, I hope so. It's got nothing to do with Manchester United. I just can't stand Jose Mourinho. I can't stand his hair, and I can't stand his face, and I can't stand his accent or his pouty expression, and I hate him. But apart from that, I wish him all the best, and I hope that he has a nice evening. You should show me respect. This says, try ginger juice with honey to soothe your throat. I will not. And Duncan says, your throat sounds better. Did you take that lady... Better? This is the best I've ever sounded. Are you kidding? I'm thinking of gargling with gravel, just to keep it sounding like this. If Rod Stewart needs a stand-in, I'm available. Duncan says, did you take that lady's advice from last night? She was quite insistent. No kidding. Insistent as in... Yeah, she was very insistent. Anyway, where was I? Oh, yeah, this Donald Trump, the answer balloon. Because Trump's fans, and that they still exist, is just astonishing to me. They exist in this country, which is doubly amazing. I mean, I get in America if your life hasn't gone the way that you thought it would, if you aren't a Kardashian, then you may be, very upset because your life doesn't resemble the ones of the people in the magazines. And so Donald Trump, this giant con man, this big orange blowhard, comes along and tells you it's all the fault of the Mexicans. They're murderers, they're rapists. It's all their fault.
I'm building a wall, okay?
Yeah, you're not going to build a wall. But keep telling them that, Donny. Keep telling those people in the Make America White Again hats. And so this guy, I don't know what is his problem, but anyway, he supposedly raised £58,000. I believe it if I see it, but that's what he says. £58,000 was raised in order to put that balloon in the sky. A balloon which looked like, to me, it cost about a tenner. And supposedly the other 58,000, he said, was going to go towards correcting Sadiq Khan in some way. By which way, I don't really know. And he was expecting, probably hoping for, a large crowd of Trump supporters. And I think maybe three showed up. It was comical. And like I said, they haven't got that Pope excuse. They can't say that it was raining, can't say that it was a bad day. It was a perfectly nice day. It was a lovely day, in fact. Much nicer than we could expect ordinarily from a day in September, when, from previous years it could be snowing, it could be raining. I should have said that the other way around, because snowing would have been more surprising. It could have been raining, it could have been snowing. You have to forgive me, I'm on a lot of drugs. So, the protest was supposedly about crime in London. That's what he said it was about, but it wasn't really. It was just some whiny... to me, it looked like just a whiny response because the people were upset that folk were taking a mickey out of Donald Trump. If there's anybody on Earth who is more... who looks more appropriate to take the mickey out of, then I'd like to know the name of the person. Now, Sadiq Khan, when he was vying to be the Mayor of London, vying to take over from Bozo the Mayor, he said that he would do anything in his power to curtail stop and search. And people are pinning on him the increase in crime in London because of that very reason. Now, what the people who organised this balloon did not say was that in January of this year, the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, said that he wants a significant increase in the use of stop and search. They just reported what he said when he wanted to become mayor, when it looked like the use of stop and search was somewhat indiscriminate and was, I suppose, justifiably upsetting a particular group of people, young black men. And what they didn't say was that he had, changed his mind based on subsequent events. Everybody is capable of changing their mind. You've changed your mind about no end of things. I mean, you used to like Gary Glitter, right? Well, to be honest, there's, Rock and Roll Part 2 is still an excellent song. I mean, sonically, it's absolutely fantastic. I think we'll have to distance the art from the person what did the art. Otherwise, almost everything that you listen to and see is going to have to be taken off the radio and taken down off the walls of museums and galleries. I mean, Picasso wasn't a very nice person. We're going to have to stop playing Michael Jackson for a start. Oh no, that's just ignorance. So anyway, the organisers of... have I gone off on enough tangents so far? I've spent half an hour trying to detail one story, and I must have talked about 87 different things so far. But, like I said, I'm on a huge amount of noxious chemicals. What they did not say, accusing Sadiq Khan of being responsible for the crime wave in London, if indeed there is such a thing, they did not say that in January of this year, the very same man said that he wanted a significant increase in stop and search. Now, whether that's a sensible thing to do, I don't know. I'll come to that in a minute. The organisers of today's stunt also didn't say that crime has not just gone up in London, but seeing a blip everywhere after decades of decreases. Probably not because of the Labour Mayor of London, but because of the cutbacks to the amount of money that the Tory government have inflicted on everything, including the police. You know, it's funny that the traditional party of law and order seems, now that they're in power, to have forgotten all that. They didn't forget to give a tax cut to corporations, mind, and to fight a tax on banks. But, you know, it's all about priorities.
Oh, fabulous.
Got to get your priorities straight. Got to take care of the rich people first, and then, then we can take care of the rest of society. It's called trickle-down economics. No such thing. But anyway. Would you like to be availed of some statistics?
No.
No, I thought not. But I'll give them to you anyway. Crime's actually been going down since the turn of the century. In 2002, there were 1,047 murders. In 2015, about half that. Since 1995, which doesn't seem that long ago. But what was in the charts in 1995? I bet my glamorous assistant knows that right off the top of his head.
Spice Girls?
Was it? The Spice Girls? Well, that's probably about right. Yeah. How did it go? Zigga, diggy, jiggy, want, zigga, zig, ah. How do they think them up? Since 1995, now this might come as a shock, there has been a 68% reduction in crimes of violence. I'll just pause to let that sink in. This is since 1995. Now, that's not that long ago. I mean, I know that nobody had mobile phones then. Well, mobile phones that weren't the size of bricks. Nobody had smartphones. Well, nobody has smartphones now. They're not smart. They're stupid. They don't learn. How can they not learn? They don't learn anything. My smartphone is a moron. I'll tell you the brand of it in a minute, and I'll advise you to avoid all products made by that company. No, wait, I'm just hearing. No, I won't be doing that. Oh, right. Okay. Since 1995, there's been a 68% reduction in crimes of violence, a 73% reduction in domestic burglary, 81% fewer vehicle thefts, and 65% fewer incidents of criminal damage. Is that believable?
Negative.
No, of course not, because there's been more reporting of crimes. Not actual crimes, but reporting of crimes. And since 1995, we've got the internet. And the reporting is repeated. It echoes like a duck quack. There's more on this, and I'll come back to it in just a second, because I'm just past the break now. 0345 6060 973. Nick Abbot, LBC.
Here are the studio calls flashing up on the indicator.
Here's a call in Sandhurst. Hello, Grant.
Hi, Nick. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Good. Yeah, loving the samples. By the way, they're incredibly funny. But yeah, no, I was just trying to say with the balloon, I was there when the Donald Trump one was there.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't actually there for that. I was there for an Eminem thing. But
you were there for a what?
Eminem.
Eminem. Eminem.
The rapper.
Yeah, I know who he is, but I didn't know that Eminem was having a thing.
Yeah, oh no, he did on the same day. He did some merchandise launch, that's why I was there. But we walked through the protests and everything, and it was pretty funny.
He had a merchandise launch. Hey, how not street is that? What kind of merchandise? Please don't say perfume.
No, it's like T-shirts, hoodies, and stuff like that. You know, hats.
Right. He's just. As the kids say these days, he's just dropped a new album.
Yeah, I know. He dropped it last night without any warning.
Wow. Exactly. Yeah. Do I sound hip and with it by saying dropped? No, not really.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no, I was there, and a few of my friends had actually vocally said that they really didn't agree with it. It's quite funny because we should never disrespect the leader of a foreign country or whatever.
Please.
And it's Donald Trump. Are you serious? But I remember at the time, the Sadiq Khan one, when Sadiq Khan was asked about it, like why he'd allowed it, because, you'd never allow a balloon of Sadiq Khan to go over. And he basically said at the time, I grew up in the age of spitting image. I'm cool. And then when it actually happened, it's just like, that's not my colour. I just find that hysterical that everyone's like, oh yeah, but everyone's going to go mad if they put a Sadiq Khan one up. They put a Sadiq Khan one up, no one cares. No one turned up.
No one turned up, like no one at all. It was really embarrassing. The pictures, if they're still up there on the World Wide Web, look at it on the Daily Mail website. There were more reporters there than there were supporters. It was comical.
That's ridiculous. But yeah, no, that was pretty much it. It's just, I just find it funny that it's like, well, they just expected everyone else to get really, really annoyed if a Sadiq Khan balloon went up.
I know. It was what a come down. How deflating, to use balloon terminology. Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, Grant. Cheers, mate. 0345 6060 973. Yeah. How annoying for Trumpists. They were expecting, I don't know, maybe 100, 100,000, 150,000 people. I think maybe like 3 showed up on a beautiful sunny day. A perfectly lovely day it was. Mind you, it's very quiet out there tonight. Too quiet. Suspiciously quiet. I suppose it is the end of a bank holiday week, and that does affect the number of people on the streets. I'm more surprised at how much effect a bank holiday actually has on the number of people that are in London, probably where you are too. But it doesn't affect the amount of morons who are driving around on the road. I was just minding my own affairs, obeying all the laws of the road, sitting at a red light with in a queue of maybe 5 cars, bang smack in the middle of town, in a 20 zone. But we were stood still at a red light, and there was a bus lane to the left, and we were all, as the law prescribes, we were in the right-hand lane, and out of absolutely nowhere, like a bat out of hell, came. It was a 4x4. He must have been doing 60, and he came down the bus lane and through the red light, and just charged off into the distance and away over the horizon. I was stunned. There was people in the bus stop that was next to us, and their jaws were on the floor. I couldn't believe it. I mean, he had absolutely no idea if anybody was going to be crossing in the opposite direction. We just went flying through, because it's my right. I can do what I want. Morons. We're surrounded by morons. I think he was driving an Audi. Not that has any, bearing on Audi drivers, but it does. Carrie says, Nick, I might have to switch over to another radio station before your Barry White voice makes me swoon or fall over. Well, yeah, me too, Carrie. I'm thinking of getting me a hotel room. If I thought I could get away with it, I'd sexually assault myself. Annie in Birmingham said, did I say that already? Because I know I thought it, but I'm not sure whether I said it already. I mean, I wouldn't want to repeat any material, But I couldn't get away with it. Not in here. There's cameras everywhere. There'd be evidence all over the place. But I'm thinking about it. Annie in Birmingham says, I had my idea of what you look like, but I've just seen your picture on the internet. Different to my idea, so I'm going to stick to my imagination. Hey, thanks a lot, Annie. That's not me, by the way. That picture that we put on the website beside my name, that's not me. That's just a random photograph that came with a frame. Belle says, Nick, that whip sound effect has just frightened my cat. What, this one? Says, so please don't use or say Alexa, otherwise it will be chaos. Apart from that, I love the show, says Belle. Alexa, take cat food off my shopping list. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. So, speaking of Donald Trump, I was talking about the crime statistics. Donald Trump is the reason that this Sadiq Khan balloon was flown over, but the subtext is that that Sadiq Khan has presided over an increase in crime in London, and right enough, there has been a recent blip upwards. But you can hardly blame Sadiq Khan on that blip any more than Donald Trump could take credit for America's current economic health. I mean, it's not really in economic health, but you know, its current account is doing fine, but its savings account is it's a catastrophe. Take a peek at America's savings account. Trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in the red. But never mind. At least he gave a tax cut to millionaires, and that's the only thing that matters to the Republican Party. Between 2015 and 2017, there was a decrease in every type of major crime in this country, except theft from the person, which was up 1%, and violence with injury, which was up 2%. That's between 2015 and 2017, which is not the kind of statistics that you would think that you would hear when somebody is telling you, you know, what happened from 1 year to the next, just recently. And as for this year, there has been a blip up, but it's in the context of a decrease over many, 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 many years. People keep saying, oh, this is the most violent time that anybody can remember, and London is so violent. You've got cricket commentators moving to Spain because they're fearful of their lives, and I don't understand what you people are talking about, other than you're reacting to the 24-hour news cycle. If you'd gone to America back when I went there in 1982, it would have been something of a shock and would have made you fearful for leaving the hotel or the house you were in. Because local news there was just recent deaths in your area. That's pretty much all they covered, because there was just so many of them. And it was just one horrifying story after the next, because they had plenty of hours to fill. Whereas we in this country, we only had the news at 6 and the news at 9 and the news at 10, and there were brief bulletins which were stuffed with, you know, very, very important world issues. Boring! Which people weren't that interested in. People are much more interested in someone's just got killed to death in your street, which is why they concentrated on that over in America, because it's all about the ratings. It's all about the money, honey. Now, we have a 24-hour news cycle. We've got cable news and, you know, the Sky and the BBC News and the CNN and all the rest of them. And they're all competing with each other to scare you to death. Which is why they keep reporting all this low-level stuff, which is essentially just other people's misfortunes. It's not actual news. It's other people's misfortunes. But it just chips away at you, and you end up being fearful and thinking that you are... Oh, God, there the lights go. I forget to walk up and down during every news bulletin, otherwise I'm plunged into a Stygian gloom. I must be very, very still, because I bet it doesn't happen to anybody else. I mean, everybody else is, you know, waving their arms around like a windmill, emoting for the camera. But because I haven't got one on me, then, you know, I'm just stock still. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So this year, there has been a blip up, which you will have heard about. But it is in the context of a decrease over many, many years. I mean, it used to be that I know it's a bit rich to go back this far, but in medieval times, you're probably more likely to get murdered to death than not. Not so much anymore. And look at the time, I've got another break coming up, so I'll have to continue this in just a minute. You want to know how many murders are up your way? Well, stick around and I'll tell you. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC.
He is a very sick and dangerous man.
Yeah, well, I'm a sick man and dangerous if I breathe on you. But you know me, I never complain.
Stop whining.
Rob says he's night fishing in Devon. Is that wise? What do you want to do that for? Night fishing in Devon. What for? I mean, fishing is dull enough. Why do you want to do it at night when you should be sleeping? You can't sleep, and so you go fishing in order to put yourself into a deep coma. I understand. He says, I've just checked your photo, and your earlier caller was right. You don't look like what I imagined. I'll just take that as an insult. Thanks, Rob. And Teresa says, why don't you describe what you look like for all those ladies? Yes, Teresa, I certainly will. I look like the back end of a really good-looking dog. Does that help? Look at that switchboard. Is anybody remotely interested in anything I'm saying?
No.
Well, I mean, what are the amount of things we talked about so far? We talked about Eminem, we talked about Donald Trump, we talked about Aretha Franklin's funeral, John McCain's funeral service. We've talked about the crime statistics. We've talked about no end of things. Look at that switch. You know, I've noticed this before. When I'm under the weather, people just sit back, fold their arms, and make me suffer. When I'm bouncing for joy and feeling, top of the world, then they just call and call and call, and they want to shout over me and shut me up. When I can barely get a word out without extreme pain and agony, then not a call. God, but like I said before, it is very, very quiet out there. I'm always surprised at how quiet bank holidays make both the City of London and also the phone switchboard. But God, there's only 10 lines for crying out loud. Anyway, where was I? 16% more attacks with blades in the last year. Now, there has been a blip up. Now, this could be because there are actually more crimes being committed, or it could be, of course, you know what I'm going to say, it could be more reporting. It could be a difference in the way that the reports are both logged, or a difference in the number of people that are actually reporting crimes. Could be. But let's assume that these are actual reliable numbers. So against a background of a decreasing the crime rate, which has been going on pretty steadily for the whole of the century so far, for the last 18 years, no, more than that, since the mid-90s. Since the mid-90s, crime of all type has been going down. But for whatever reason, just lately, crime has gone back up. Certain crimes. Over the last year, 16% more attacks with blades, 2% more firearms offences, 12% more murders, but the murder rate is still small at 701. And there was no change in the overall number of violent offences compared to last year. That is the year ending March 2018. Now, compare that to Detroit, which, and by the way, that number 701, that's England and Wales. Now, Detroit saw 316 murders in 2013, which was the last year that I could find statistics for. And I searched and searched. I must have spent 20, 30 seconds searching. In 2013, keep in mind, we had 701 murders, which was an increase. It's a high number based on the last 20 odd years. Detroit alone saw 316 murders in 2013. Now, that's a rate of 45 per 100,000 people. And if you do the maths, not the math, as they say in America, which never sounds right to me. It always sounds as though they've just chopped the end of the word off. It's not math, it's maths. That's just one of the things that they get wrong. And it's not tomato. But, let's not get bogged down in all of that, because then we'll just have to call the whole thing off. A rate of 45 per 100,000 people were murdered in Detroit in 2013. Now, if you compare Detroit's population to London's population, And if it was 45,000 per 100,000 people, we'd be experiencing 4,000 murders a year in London alone. So this idea that London is an extremely dangerous city, and it's way more dangerous than major conurbations in America, is just not true. But we compared it to New York. Now, if you don't know what's happened in New York recently, then you will assume that New York is a very, very dangerous city. But it's not. It's not as dangerous. It's certainly not as dangerous as it was when I went in 78, 79. I went there in 1978 or 9. Whenever the Message by Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five was released. What a song. And I was there when it was out.
Rock and roll!
They played that song about every 5 minutes on the radio. People bleeping in the streets like they just don't care. And they did too. Very, very dangerous place. I was staying in a dive a hotel near what they call Alphabet City, which is out on the edge of Manhattan. Somebody died in the room opposite me. I woke up in the morning to the usual sound of police sirens, which were just constant. And the police were present in the room just opposite. I don't know whether they were shot or not, but I'll just assume that that was the case. And the guy on the desk said, whatever you do, when you leave the hotel, don't turn left. Only turn right. And walk quickly. That's how bad it was. But not no more. And there's an interesting thing that's happened in New York recently, which relates to our stop and search. They don't call it that. They call it stop and frisk, I think. But, the idea is the same. And I'll get to that in a sec. So, like I said, if we were as dangerous as Detroit, which is, I think, still the murder capital of America, we would be experiencing 4,000 murders a year in London. And we actually have 700 in the whole country, England and Wales. So maybe we're, we're flying off the handle a bit, probably because so much news coverage is spent on recent deaths in what is probably not even your area. If it bleeds, it leads. Now, these individual instances aren't actual. Okay, they're terrible occurrences for the people who are, caught up in it. Of course. But it's not actual national news. Not really. They're just unfortunate. They're just other people's misfortunes. Like the Sex Pistols said, it's a cheap holiday in other people's misery. And it doesn't really affect you that much. You probably still keep eating through the report that you're watching on the news on television. Or you'll look at the report in the newspaper and you'll raise your eye and you'll look for the gory details, and then you'll turn the page to see what the Kardashians are doing. But it does seep in, and it gives you an idea, the notion that you are living in, you're a stranger in a violent, strange land. But if you actually look at the numbers, rather than just this feeling of dread that the television and the news media is disseminating, then you should feel more comfortable. Because it ain't that bad. New York, of which London was accused of having a higher murder rate, is seeing an historic low number of killings. So that's the only reason, up to a certain point this year, that London had a higher murder rate than New York, is because New York has been turned around. It coincides with an all-time low number, also, of police stop and searches. Now, I'll say that again, because it's not what you would imagine to be the case. New York used to do stop and frisks, is what they call it. Way more than we do. And that was, it was part of this sort of broken window policy that was brought in by a previous mayor. Was it Mayor Koch? One of them, I can't remember. Whichever, doesn't matter. Where every single tiny little thing was had the police descend on it. Graffiti and all of this kind of thing that made the place look and feel lawless. and they turned New York around. But the current mayor has taken that the statistical anomaly and improved on it dramatically, but not by the way that you might imagine. In the decade starting 2004, New York police frisked over 4 million people, based solely on hunches. And I would imagine that if you read between the lines, it's based solely on the fact that they were young black males. Now, when the mayor, Bill de Blasio, who's the current mayor of New York, when he took office, he reined in that tactic. And shootings and stabbings dropped dramatically in the same period. Now, I'm not saying that one was a consequence of the other, but it's an interesting notion that stopping and stops and I don't know what the plural of that is. Stop and searches do not necessarily mean that you have a lower amount of crime, because he decreased massively the amount of stop and searches that New York police undertook, and in the same period, crime tanked, went right down. So explain that to me, I double dare you. That's what New York introduced. Precision policing instead of this trawling of the population. Oh, blimey, I'm up against the clock again, and I'm yakking on and forget what time it is. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850, email nick@lbc.co.uk, and if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. You know, if you're interested in any of the 6,000 topics I've thrown out in the last hour. If not, then, I'll keep rattling them out, and hopefully I'll hit pay dirt eventually. 0345 6060 973. This is Barry White on LBC.
I really like you. Do you like me?
Well, like's a strong word. 0345 6060 973. So as I was saying, I'll just complete this. I'll wipe this up, and then in a little while I want to talk about what's going on in Germany. Anybody have any interest in that?
No.
I didn't think so. I'll keep fishing around for something that anybody cares about. Nobody cares about crime, nobody cares about music, and nobody cares about... Oh, thanks, by the way, for giving us all the football results, Zora. Now I won't have to watch Match of the Day. All that time I'm saving. You know, it's only football. Nothing important. Did Jose Mourinho lose again yet? Don't tell me. Oh, but I don't talk about the pitch, and I don't talk about the referee, I don't talk about any of these things. So... New York. So great they named it. In the decade starting 2004, New York police frisked over 4 million people based solely on hunches, and that's exactly what our stop and search is. People are saying we should bring stop and search back as a knee-jerk response to some localized killing that's been going on, which is almost certainly all about drugs. How is the drugs trade, the war on drugs going, by the way?
Oh, fabulous.
That's what I thought. So, in the decade starting 2004, 4 million people were frisked. Stop and frisk is what they call it, based solely on the hunch of the police person responsible. When Mayor Bill de Blasio took office, he reined in that tactic, and shootings and stabbings dropped dramatically in the same period, which is not what you'd have thought, right? So stop and search isn't necessarily the answer to violent crime. Precision policing is. They didn't stop stopping and frisking people that they knew were criminals. They just stopped trawling for criminals. And that's what New York introduced. Precision policing. And, at least in New York, it saw the... and in that trawling, the 4 million people... When the police frisked 4 million people, they came up empty-handed over 90% of the time, which implies it was a gigantic waste of time, and also irritated an entire community. Not only for for perhaps misguided good reason, but without a positive result, which is what we're after, right? So the increased number of crimes doesn't necessarily mean that there were more of them, is what I said earlier on. They just reflect those that came to the attention of the police. Increased reporting might also increase the numbers logged. Keep that in mind when you read about an increase of crime statistics. But also keep in mind, as I said, that this recent blip upwards in the reporting of a lot of crimes is over the background of an historic low of reported crimes. It's been going... if you look at the crime chart, it goes top left to bottom right, with the number of crimes up the x-axis and the date along the y. It sounds like maths homework. Boring! Nobody wants to do that. Here's calling Camden. Hello, Claire.
Hi, Nick.
Claire.
Hi, I want to ask you something which you haven't mentioned tonight.
Oh, good.
It's about the Farage person.
The Farage person, yeah.
Yeah. How much work can one actually accomplish if he is traveling by plane all the time? He has had several sequences of days when he was broadcasting from, for example, Brussels, and then the next day from the US somewhere, and then the next day from the UK maybe.
Yeah.
And again after that.
Are you saying that he's not worth his member of the European Parliament salary? Is that what you're saying?
And besides this, he is misleading because broadcasting from different places every day may sound glamorous, but how much is he doing, in fact?
How much what is he doing?
Work. Is it worth going to different continents only to broadcast from different continents?
Well, I would assume that he's not getting on a plane and going to wherever it is he goes, just in order to say, I'm over here in America or Brussels or wherever. I don't think that that's the purpose of his travels. I really don't know why he goes where he goes, or indeed where he goes. I've got no idea. But I imagine he's got some sort of business interests in all of those places. But what I do know is that he should, if he was actually decent about it, he shouldn't get a pension paid for by us poor dopes who pay taxes, paid out of an institution that he's spent much of his life trying to destroy. What kind of a business is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if he was actually working for a business that he was trying to destroy, do you think they continue paying him and guarantee him a pension for life? They'd have fired him.
I would have fired him, but I don't know. They must be really very gentle to him in the European Union.
Yeah, too gentle. Well, really. I mean, there's just no... if you're trying to destroy an organisation, then that organisation should protect itself, should flick you away.
Yeah.
I mean, if we were all on a boat and Nigel Farage was in the back digging holes in the hull, what would you do? You'd make him walk the gangplank, wouldn't you? You'd keel haul him.
Yeah, that was a very good analogy.
Right. Okay, thanks, Claire.
Thank you.
All right, cheers, my dear. Don't leave the house in Camden this time of night. You're in great danger. 0345 6060 973. What do you think about that, Nigel?
I'm a nutcase.
Simon says, am I the only listener that tries to guess what clip you will play after you come back from a break? I find it enlivens the listening experience. So far tonight, I haven't got one right, says Simon. Well, so far tonight, Simon, I haven't got one right either. I have no idea what's going to happen next on this show, which is alarming. Here's a call in Amersham. Hello, Cliff.
Good evening. How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Good, good. I'd just like to tell you a little story about my American adventure, if you like, in the 90s.
Yeah.
So you mentioned New York and stuff like that, and with Detroit. Well, I went to San Francisco, which is a beautiful city, by the way. I loved it. But
yeah, it's all right.
Me Well, yeah, I think it's beautiful. Me and a friend were on the lash, if you like, and we popped out about 3 o'clock in the morning, and we could pretty much got hold of anything we wanted within 10 minutes just by standing on the corner. And I mean anything, literally.
Well, which corner were you standing on? Ashbury.
Yeah. Well, this is just a crossroads, out of a bar. I said to your producer, it's bizarre. We're tourists, and they always got about how the freedom of America. Like, we could have got anything, weapons, drugs, anything.
Right.
Within 10 minutes.
Well,
we were told that.
Someone sidled up and said,
"Want to score some pot?"
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. It was the lady of the night, yes. We didn't get involved in that, but, we were just having fun. But
if you say so.
Yeah, I do. She said, you stand on the street corner, you'll be offered anything within 10 minutes at this time of the night.
Yeah, I didn't much take to San Francisco. Too many hills.
Yeah,
too many uptight people. There are too many I don't know, it didn't seem like a fun place, which it has a reputation for being.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Fisherman's Wharf and you've got Alcatraz and all that. I mean,
yeah, it's just tourist traps.
And the trams do get in the way of the cars, there's no doubt about it. It's quite busy. I mean, the four-way stop system's a joke, isn't it? I mean, what's all that about? You're stuck on a hill and you're trying to you're trying to see who gets there first, sort of thing. Yeah. But I mean, we did LA as well, and we did Vegas. But I mean, it's a visually nice city, though, isn't it, with the bays? And
I suppose so. A little bit chilly, for California. You go to California, I think it's going to be nice and warm, but it's
that's
quite
right,
cold, actually.
I just thought I'd tell you my little adventure there.
All right.
Anyway,
okay. Keep your nose clean, Cliff. Thanks a lot, mate.
Thanks very much.
0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Bobby in Manchester says the crime rate would go down as police will not be stopping and searching as many people, therefore less detection of crimes, meaning less crimes are recorded by the police. Well, no, not really, Bobby. The police detect crimes that are reported to them. I think you got that the other way around. I mean, police don't go around saying, aha, there's a murdered person. It's usually that people will tell the police that someone has been murdered. That's why they go out to that location. They don't just they don't just pass a building that's being burgled and they say, oh, right, get your pad out. That's one there. It's somebody calls them and tells them they're being burglarized. You need to think before you tweet, Bobby. Oh, by the way, nobody can tweet for the month. We're all off Twitter. We're all off Facebook and, Snapface and InstaChat and all of those things. Can't do any of those anymore. It's verboten for the month of September. Did you hear about that? I'll come to that in a minute as well. I'll add that to the list of things that nobody's interested in. The internet. Abby in Surrey says, it goes without saying that a targeted stopping and searching of known gang members is a more efficient way of employing the resources of the Metropolitan Police. I really cannot get my head around why the British police cannot borrow what makes sense and has successfully been employed by others like New York. Well, I can't get my head around it, Abby. But people aren't calling for that. People are calling for trawling again, stopping and searching without targeting at all, just based on hunches. That person looks like they might be criminally inclined. I'm going to go and root through their pockets. As opposed to using intelligence, where there's precious little of it about. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday and Saturday night at 10, Nick Abbot, LBC.
I just want to tell you all how happy I am to be back in the studio, making a picture again.
Yeah, it's a radio show, dear. There you are. I didn't think I was going to play that one, did you? James says it's very quiet out there. Could it be that the public are still recovering from Mrs. May doing the robot? I choked on my pizza as she bust a move, says James. Bust a move? Looks like she dislocated her hip. Looked like somebody had plugged her into the national grid. As the first rule of politics, don't dance on camera, especially if you ain't got no rhythm. Yeah, Mrs. M, try dancing to this. I'd pay money to see that. Here's a call in the dangerous downtown area of Esher. Jonathan.
Hello there. It's not very dangerous around here. It's actually really nice and leafy.
Yeah, I know it is.
Obviously, you said about the numbers in America, about the amount of stop and searches they did, and the fact that only 10% of them come up with anything.
Yeah.
The numbers over there are huge because obviously they've got a lot more people and a lot more police officers and a lot more money to throw around.
Well, they don't have more people. It's a similar size to London.
If we had the same sort of amount of stop and searches in London,
yeah,
and 10% of them come up trumps, that's an awful lot of people stopped.
An awful lot of really annoyed people. Yeah.
But the 90% would be annoyed. Fair enough. But the 10%, 1 in 10, that's a really high number.
Yeah, but we don't know what it is that they were guilty of. I mean, it could have been
a crime is a crime. If you're
a little like marijuana, or it could have been they nicked a spray can to graffitiise a train carriage.
But it all adds to the same. It all adds to the same fix. If you have a police officer that is paid 20,000-30,000 a year, and he sat there all day long with nothing else to do but pull people over. If he pulls 20 people over a day, if he stops 2 criminals a day doing something wrong, that's an awfully big impact over the course of the year.
That would be right if the alternative was to sit there all day doing nothing. But that's not what I'm proposing. What I'm proposing is that they actually use intelligence, they use information to target certain individuals rather than just trawl entire neighbourhoods.
But they do, though.
They do what?
That's the point, that we do have targeted in teams that deal with specific problems and target specific individuals. But the problem is we still need police officers every day of the year on the streets doing a day-to-day job.
Yeah, but it would be better if they were using their time doing something that had a better hit rate than 10%.
It's not a bad hit rate.
It is a bad hit rate. It's a terrible hit rate.
It's really.
It means that they've wasted 90% of their time.
Or
I don't know what you do at work, Jonathan, but if you wasted 90% of your time at work, you'd be fired now.
But it's not a waste of 90% of your time if you stop 2 criminal acts a day.
Yeah, but if you raise that just by to 20%, then you'd be a more efficient copper.
Of course. But you're talking about, when you talk about stop and searches, you're talking about PCSOs. You're talking about the people on the street that go around every day. They're not investigative. They're not. They are the people doing the daily grind. You're not talking about private investigators. You're not talking about people higher up in the establishment where they are doing the more direct, the more. You're talking about the people doing the daily.
We're not talking about Colombo here, Jonathan. We're just talking about instead of trawling the general population, you point your activity at the people that you know are the criminals. Now, if you're a local policeman and you know your patch, then you'll know who is a wrong one or not, rather than just getting every teenager that passes to turn out their pockets.
But that's the point. They are doing that. They are focusing on what they
How
know.
Do you know?
Because I know. When was the last time I was
Because I know. Oh, well, that's proof positive.
When was the last time you were stop and searched?
Ages, decades.
That's the point. Me too. Decades. They're focusing their stop and searches abilities on the people that they think will be causing the trouble.
Well, the fact that you, a resident of Esher, haven't been stopped and searched for a long period of time, and me, living in outer London, haven't either, has got nothing to do with it.
But I may be a resident in Esher, but I do work inside London, so I'm inside London every day. And I haven't been stopped and searched, not for a long, long time. And I've never known anybody else be stopped and searched. And one of my very good friends is actually a police officer that works on a beat in an area that stop and search is prolific. But 1 in 10, if you're going to stop 10 people and 1 person, you're going to stop a crime. I believe that's worthwhile.
Well, it depends. It depends on what crime it is, and it depends on what crimes you're missing, because you're concentrating on some small beer that is taking up all your time. How can you say that 10% of your effort is a success, is something that should be recommended? I mean, who works on that ratio?
No one does. But
Exactly.
But the police is a different. It's not going to the bank or it's not trying to sell a product, is it? It's not like you're actually. You are literally protecting people. If they did nothing, if they did no stop and search at all and just stood on the street and
you've said that already. Of course, but doing the stopping and searching millions of people as opposed to doing nothing, of course, would be an improvement. But no one's recommending that they do nothing. Since when do police ever do nothing?
I'd be quite happy with them doing nothing as long as they were there as a deterrent and somebody to contact.
You'd be happy if they were doing nothing.
Well, yeah, I would. I would be happy if they were there. But the point is that they're not there.
I thought you just said that one of your close personal friends was a copper that was a local policeman.
Working hard.
Well, so he is there. So they do have a presence.
Of course they do.
You don't need me, Jonathan. You can just sit there and argue with yourself.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, no worries. Dave says, I think in Germany and Sweden, people are waking up. People can only take so much, but our fishermen should be allowed to fish. Oh, please. Everybody is suddenly so animated and protective about our fisher people. I understood that they had a gentleman's agreement that in order to keep the scallop population from dying out, that they didn't fish for scallops at this particular time. I think they have to, I don't know anything about scallops any more than you do, but they have to let them, let the population recover. Otherwise, we ain't got no scallops no more. And it was a gentleman's agreement, as far as I understood, that the French didn't fish there. It's not a competition between the French trying to fish them and the British boats trying to fish them. It's the French are trying to stop the fishing, just to let the scallop population recover. And the British, I think we shook hands on it. And then we went back on it. So no wonder they're upset. Plus, we said that we were only going to go in small boats, and then they showed up in these giant trawlers. And you know how they fish for scallops? They got chains that scrape along the bottom of the ocean, or the sea, or the channel, whatever it is, and kill everything. It's like a desert down there after they scrape for scallops. So, before you start defending the indefensible, just learn a little bit about what it is you're talking about, Dave. Fishermen should be allowed to fish. Not if it means decimating the fish stocks, it shouldn't. Bill says, Nick, do grow up. Farage is a proper Englishman, not a Wally like you are. Wow, that's really grown up of you, Bill. You sound like a Farage supporter. Proper Englishman. Why? Because he wears mustard corduroys and is photographed a lot swigging up from a pint glass. Proper Englishman. Get lost, Bill. I was born in England. Sean in St Albans says, have you seen the size of the moon tonight? No, I have not.
Groovy.
Is it big? Is it about moon size? Is it one of those moons that's really close to the horizon? Because, and I know I've mentioned this before, this is the only thing I remember from my 4 years of study of psychology. If the moon is close to the horizon, it looks really, really big. As opposed to when it's high up in the sky. Even on the same night, you can see the moon on the horizon. It looks enormous sometimes. And then as it rises in the sky, it gets smaller and smaller. But actually it doesn't. And it's such a trick of the eye that you really are persuaded that it's got further away, that it can't possibly be the same moon. But the moon high in the sky that looks teeny tiny is the exact same size of the moon that on the horizon that looks absolutely enormous. And it's because on the horizon you have something to relate to the size of the moon. Something that you know the size of. Like a tree or a house or some other building, whatever it might be. And because you can relate it to the size of a building, you don't perceive the moon being so far away, so it seems closer and therefore much, much bigger. And you know what that illusion is called? This is how creative people are in the world of psychology. That illusion that the moon is larger on the horizon, and it is just an illusion. It might seem as though it's bigger, but believe me, it ain't. The illusion is called the moon illusion. They didn't think about that for a single second before they named that. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. I want to talk about all sorts of things, but among them, this thing that's going on in Germany about the immigrants who have been, not just accused, but guilty of a crime, and this march that they had, and bad feeling over there and all that sort of thing. Because it fits right into what we're talking about. You know, in among the other things that we've talked about, like Eminem and Led Zeppelin and cake. I'm sure cake came up at some point or other, and fat kids. Have fat kids come up yet? Well, if not so far, then they probably will. 0345 6060 973. Friday and Saturday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
Hello.
0345 6060 973. Let's have a call in Glasgow. Andrew.
Hello, Nick. I'm just phoning. I think it's been quite trivialised what you've been discussing tonight.
Oh no, I haven't made a mistake again, have I?
I do think no. I think it's quite a serious thing, but like the increase in knife crime, gun crime, and murder being described as misfortune because of, obviously, I know the media dramatise everything. They make everything a lot bigger than it seems, and that's what sells. But at the same time, to class it as misfortune, I would hope my family wouldn't class it as misfortune if I was one of those statistics.
Yeah, exactly. If you are one of those statistics, but people that don't know you are presented with that news, which is not really news. It's just a cheap holiday in other people's misery.
Yeah, but it's still.
I mean, do you want a breakdown of all of the people that have died in your area? Because it would be more serious if you learn about the people that have died from air pollution, for instance, because that would probably be more than the people that have died from being stabbed in Glasgow.
Yeah, but it's not the air pollution thing's not sort of a personal attack in the same way that knife and gun crime is.
No, it's an all-encompassing attack.
Exactly.
On everybody in the city. It's much more important, but that never gets reported because there's no exciting pictures that go with that.
No, it still gets reported, but
not
it's
really
not reported on in the same way.
Yeah.
Global warming, all that sort of stuff. It's all mainstream news, but
no, not really. I mean, when was the last time it was reported in the news? When was the last time that any news organisation led with it, rather than somebody just got shot in a road that you have never heard of in a part of town that you've never visited?
Well, like global warming and plastics in the ocean and stuff, it's prevalent all the time at the moment.
Well, not in any news bulletin that I've seen. But anyway.
And then it's the describe as a blip up.
Yeah, it is a blip up.
A blip up indicates that it's went up and came down.
No,
so
it's blipped
it could
up.
be a trend up at the minute. We don't know that until we get the statistics.
What's that?
It's just a buzzer in me box.
Are you reversing?
No.
A buzzer in your box?
Yeah,
well, that sounds...
I might have to answer it.
Borderline disgusting.
Hello. Steady. Yeah.
I wonder what box he's in.
Sorry about that.
Has somebody locked you in a box, Andrew? Would you like us to alert the authorities?
No, I'm just at work. Right, so yeah, the blip up.
Yeah, it's a blip up, yeah.
It indicates that it went up and came down.
No, it doesn't. If I said it blipped up and down, then it would indicate that it had gone up and down. But it's blipped up just this last year.
But what if it keeps going next year?
What if?
Then it's a trend.
Well, what if the world comes to an end next Thursday?
Yeah, but
what if it keeps going up, then it's a trend?
Yes.
What are you talking about? How do I know what's going to happen next?
Exactly.
When it happens next, then we'll talk about it then. Let's talk about what's happening now.
A book could be the start of a trend, is my point.
Well, yeah, exactly. Or, next Tuesday, all crime could stop worldwide. That is also possible.
But you've got to pay attention to that, and I would say look at it worst case in order to put measures in place to stop these things happening.
No, you don't look. You don't look worst case. That would be ridiculous. Of course, you don't look worst case. You try to solve the situation that it presents itself, not some fantasy horror movie scenario. What are you talking about?
If crime,
no wonder someone's put you in a box, Andrew. When did they let you out?
If crimes increase for the first time in many, many years, I would look at that and think, why?
Exactly.
What can I do about it?
Precisely.
How
Why?
do I sort that out?
Yeah. Why?
And I think the last caller made a good point about the stop and search thing. I totally agree with it.
Well, I don't. I think it's a complete waste of time to do something that is only successful 10% of the time. What a waste of energy.
If in that 10% of the time they caught someone that could be a perpetrator in a crime against...
You and he are both making the same mistake. You're assuming that the only thing to do is either nothing or something that only succeeds 10% of the time. I'm suggesting that we should do something that is more successful than that. More successful, more often.
Well,
the alternative is not to do nothing, Andrew.
Yeah, no, you're saying that to act on information.
Yeah, to actually use intelligence rather than just trawling the local community, which is what stop and search is.
My argument would be that surely, and I would probably almost guarantee this, if the police had intelligence that someone was carrying a gun or a knife, they would act on that. Why wouldn't they act on that? But they should also be doing the stop and search in addition. If say, the minimum term for carrying a knife was 5 years, and you thought you could be walking down the street and there was a chance you're going to get stopped, you're taking a risk then of going to jail for 5 years just for carrying that knife.
Andrew, the jails are absolutely stuffed with people that have committed crimes that come with penalties, and yet they went ahead and committed them anyway.
Yeah, I get that, but it's all about deterrent. That's why you have...
But it's not a deterrent.
So do you agree with the cuts in the police force then?
No.
Well, that's the deterrent. That's what...
But it isn't a deterrent. I mean, they're saying that we're going to lock people away if they carry a knife for 5 years is not a deterrent any more than saying that we're going to lock murderers away or we're going to kill murderers. I mean, they kill murderers in America. Is it a deterrent? No. They put more people per head of population in prison in America than any other country on earth.
Yeah, but I would say if there was, you could say that if there was no rules, no laws, then everyone would just behave. That's not, because crime is crime and you face punishment, it is a deterrent for law-abiding citizens. Otherwise, if I could just go and help myself to something I really wanted...
Yeah, nobody wants to deter law-abiding citizens because by definition they don't commit crimes, being law-abiding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
is there a lack of oxygen in your box?
No, but there's people who are in desperate situations who stealing, for example, a person who's in a desperate situation where they've got to provide for their family. It could be that balance between jail and providing for their family. The being close to the edge, there's that little deterrent there that keeps everything ticking along as it should be.
But it doesn't, though. Hence the amount of people that are in prison. We're not getting anywhere here, Andrew. But I hope that you manage to find your way out. That they've given you a key. What kind of a job involves being locked in a box? Maybe he's a magician's assistant. 0345 6060 973. Tom says police have reasonable grounds to search. Remember that the 9 out of 10 failure rate isn't a waste of time. It's a huge deterrent. Oh God, here we go with the deterrent again. It isn't. Witness the numbers in New York that I gave you some moments ago. He said, I have stopped and searched hundreds of people. Wow, let's hope he's a policeman. I'll read on and find out. He says, I've stopped and searched hundreds of people as a policeman in London. Ah, phew. He says, I actually know a bit about this. I'm not simply guessing. But the police are guessing when they stop and search people. I'll say it again. In the decade starting in 2004, New York police frisked, which is their version of stop and search, over 4 million people based solely on hunches, by which I imagine is just somebody that they came across their path that they didn't like the look of. 4 million people. Now, when Mayor Bill de Blasio took office, he reined in that tactic and decreased it dramatically by, I think, 90%. And he reined in the tactic, and shootings and stabbings dropped dramatically in the same period. Explain that to me, I double dare you. Carolyn Wandsworth says, after hearing how scallops are harvested by trawlers scraping all sea life off the seabed, I can't eat scallops anymore because of the indiscriminate destruction of other sea life, says Carol. And I love scallops, she says. Well, I don't eat scallops either, for a different reason. I can't afford them. 0345 6060 973, Friday and Saturday night at 10, Nick Abbott, LBC.
Hi, honey. How are you?
I'm super. Thanks for asking. This suspiciously anonymous text or message says, Nick Abbott, can you just for once not support the EU in everything? That's why the audience are suspicious of you. The hell are you talking about? You're talking about the scallops, right? Well, the scallops issue doesn't have anything to do with the EU. It's not an EU issue. It's a French fisher persons versus British fisher persons issue. It has nothing to do with the EU. I'll throw it back at you. Can you, for once, not blame the EU for everything? Some of you Brexiteer ultras are utterly obsessed with the EU. It's the fault of everything that ails you. And the fault that everything that you haven't even heard of that ails you. God, get over it. If your life hasn't been going that well, it's not the EU's fault. It just might be your fault. Or probably it's luck's fault. But it's difficult to blame luck. I know that. Luck don't care. And so what are you going to do? I mean, if you're the President of the United States of America, you blame the Mexicans. They're all murderers and rapists. Or if you're a certain type in this country, then you blame the EU for absolutely everything that has gone wrong in your life.
I'm a nutcase.
But it ain't necessarily so. This is why I knew that the EU referendum would come out to leave, is because people like the person that messaged that, they only think about the EU all the time. They've got this bee in their bonnet that they think the EU is personally responsible for everything that has gone negatively in their lives. Their lives haven't turned out the way they want, so it's not their fault. And you can't blame luck, so it must be somebody else's fault. And then Uncle Nige comes along and he says, he forms this exciting new political party that blames the EU for everything.
The arguments that UKIP stands for aren't valid.
If you say so, Nige. Audience is suspicious of me. And Andy says, you really must stop demonstrating your jealousy of Nigel Farage. Some of you people are out of your mind. Jealous? What, because of his ravishing good looks? Let's have a call in Kensal Rise. Lee.
Yes, sir.
Lee.
I mean, you've covered so many topics, I'm not sure what to say. I don't eat scallops. Once a year, maybe.
Yeah. They just cost too much. How can anything that small cost so much?
Yeah, I agree with you completely. What else were we talking about tonight?
We talked about Eminem. He sort of came and went. We've talked about guns. We talked about New York. We talked about Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five.
Rock and roll!
Don't push me, because I'm close to the edge.
Oh, Nick, please. I appreciate your sense of humor. All right. Look, it was just a matter of I suppose we could cover a few topics here. The EU, because my son and his mother live in Paris, and he's deciding what he wants to do in college. I says, well, he's going to graduate from secondary school, and where's the best place to go? It's England or America.
Right. Well, I'd choose the cheaper option, which is almost certainly England.
Yeah, well, I agree with that.
I mean, why not Paris? What's wrong with Paris?
Well, here's the problem. Okay, this is why I live in London. Okay, if you make, and I'm from Chicago. If you make it in Chicago, then you make it in Chicago. But if you make it in London or New York, you make it everywhere.
Plus, Chicago is just unlivably cold in the winter. I mean, how can anybody live in that climate?
Yeah, no,
it's just unbearable.
No kidding. In the summer, it's insufferably hot.
Exactly. Why would anybody live there? I just don't get it.
I don't get it either, because it's just a transport hub.
Yeah, that's right. It's people going from the east to the west. They stop off in Chicago because, where else are you going to stop? Denver? Of course not.
Yeah. I mean, you might as well stay overnight at O'Hare Airport and, continue the next day.
Yeah.
So, but London, if you make it in London, listen, I've made it in London. Okay? I trained for the international banks in London.
Oh, my God. We've got a financial finagler on the phone. He's a banker.
No! No, I'm not a banker. I'm a trader.
Well, how much have you been fined lately, Lee?
How much have I been what?
Fined.
Fined?
Yeah.
No, I haven't been. I've never been fined.
Wow, we found one. We found a bank trader who hasn't been fined recently.
No, I listen. I absolutely resent those guys. I have a big problem with them because they don't follow the rules. And
oh, please, who follows the rules in that racket?
Well, and the other reason is that they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely true. Well, they do know what they're doing. They're making vast amounts of money, but how they do it doesn't really matter to them one way or the other. And what the consequences are afterwards, they don't care, because us poor dopes who pay taxes will just clean up their mess like we did last time.
Well, listen, Nick, there's not big money in the city anymore, okay?
Right.
Okay, there's guys that were in a dealing room with 200 people and girls in short skirts running around, but now it's down to about a handful of people just kind of answering. Well, they're just answering the phones.
Well, that's not what I heard, because I know somebody who works in one of these giant trading floors of hundreds and hundreds of people, all acting like robots.
Correct.
But any day now they'll all be replaced by robots. All of those people are going to get replaced by computer chips. Wait for it,
right.
Lee. It's about to happen to you.
No, what happens to me is I'm an expert in what we call derivatives.
Oh God, here we go.
Yeah, I wrote a book for the Financial Times.
Yeah, you know who crashed the financial world last time around in 2007 and 8? Experts.
Yeah, I hear you.
But anyway, this is not why you called, is it?
Well, that's one reason.
Okay.
But I was there, and I saw the whole thing break down.
You saw where and what broke down?
Well, I was training for the banks.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm considered an expert. Okay.
Of what?
What it's called is derivatives.
Yeah. Betting.
Okay.
It's betting, essentially.
Sorry, what?
It's betting. It's just gambling.
Well,
yeah.
No, it's price distribution and statistics.
Yeah, gambling.
Well, you can call it that.
Well, that's what it is.
And that's what they do. That's what you may call it, and that's what many people call it.
Yeah.
But I call it price distribution and statistics.
Yeah, because it confuses people to the fact that it is just gambling. But anyway, this is not why you called, surely.
Well, why did I call? I forget now. What were you talking about?
Cake. We were having a big, long discussion about cake. What kind of cake do you like, Lee?
Cake? Oh, I bought this tortilla.
Yeah, that's not cake.
Yeah, but it's.
You're obviously not an expert in baking. Tortilla ain't no cake.
No, I don't bake. I just I buy the. I don't even eat cake.
Don't eat cake.
No, I don't eat cake.
But do you watch programs about people making cake?
No, I don't watch TV.
Oh my God. Well, I don't know. I don't know what the hell you're doing in this country, Lee, because you don't fit in at all.
Good to say.
All right, thanks a lot, Lee. I don't. Does anybody actually have a clue what that call was about? No, me neither. But it was entertaining enough. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk, and if you're on Twitter, it's LBC at LBC, of course. Oh, I did mention, by the way, that they're calling it No Scroll September. Everybody's got to get off social media before it kills us all. I might come to that later as well. Camden, hello, Brian.
How you doing, Nick? You okay?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Yeah, good. Just regarding the stop and searches, I mean, if the police still do random stop and searches, it does help. They don't. Normally, at the moment, they'll pick on obviously the young hoodies that are blatantly selling drugs and carrying knives on a regular basis. It won't matter for the likes of people obviously walking around in suits, etc. And it does deter them from carrying it if they think they can just. If a police car's coming along and they're just going to stop and maybe search them off the cuff, then it will deter them. But at the moment, they just don't care. There's a video on social media at the moment where a couple of scooters pull up, spray as fire extinguisher and attack a police car. So, yeah, they've got no fear.
Well, the problem that I have with that, it's a deterrent, and so that will stop people doing it, is that the jails are absolutely stuffed with people who had a deterrent to what it is they did, but they went ahead and did it anyway. For this reason, nobody thinks they're going to get caught. That's why they commit crimes. It's a certain type of individual that just doesn't think they're going to... Well, none of us really think that anything bad is going to happen to any of us. We don't think we're going to get cancer, and we don't think we're going to come cropper if we walk out in the road staring at our phones or any of these things, which obviously can have negative consequences. It's just that we don't think it's going to happen to us.
Yeah, that's right.
Are you in a box, Brian?
I'm just out of the box.
What are you doing?
No, like I say, it's just one of those. They need to be, like I say, the police need to be harder. That's the way it needs to be.
I'm not sure that's. I think the police need to be more of them, and they need to be better equipped, and they need to be smarter, not harder. Because American jails are really, really hard. I mean, the American. What are you doing, mate? There's an ecstasy of fumbling. I've got no idea what he's doing, but maybe I don't want to know. The American penal system, gosh, I wish they called it something else, is very, very strict and very, very hard. And I think the statistics are something like America has 5% of the world's population and 25% of its prisoners. So 3 strikes and you're out, and the death penalty for some crimes, and all of these things that they have over there, and shoot on sight, and all the rest of it doesn't appear to be a deterrent at all. I want to talk about this thing that's going on in Germany, and there's just no end of things to talk about. It's I probably won't have the time to get around to them. Never mind, I'll just have to live with it. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC.
I'm listening, dear. You can talk to me.
Yes, it's 0345 6060 973. Well, some Brexiteer ultras have been stirred. Claire says, Nigel Farage has been dealing with the unelected Barnier and Juncker for years. Nigel's more knowledge about the EU than you, Nick Abbott. You just... Claire, honestly, you... I don't know where to start with you people, really, I just don't. Unelected. He's a trade negotiator, Barnier. Name me the country that elects its trade negotiators. You know, these cute phrases that he just keeps coming out with over and over and over, this unelected bureaucracy and blah, blah, blah. If you just spent 2 minutes, Claire, do you have the internet where you live? Just look it up instead of just believing everything that you hear. But I know that you prefer not to, and you just want to, you know, get force-fed your misinformation. Don't worry, Nigel Farage will be back on the air any moment now. You're never more than a day away. Your safe space is just around the corner. I really haven't got the patience to, educate you about it, but so you'll just stew in your ignorance. It's nice and warm in there, I bet. Manchester, hello, Steve.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, thanks.
It was a quick call. I was just listening to your last caller talking about stop and searches, particularly being targeted at lads, I guess, who wear hoodies and dress in tracksuits. That's not necessarily the case. I grew up in Woolwich Arsenal in East London. I go back regularly to see my grandma, who still lives there. I've since moved out of Woolwich Arsenal and now live up in Manchester and have a fairly decent job. Stop and searches are apparent to anybody, and particularly men of colour. They look at more the type of person that's either walking the streets or driving a car and then decide to pull them over. The amount of time, I must have been pulled over best part of maybe a dozen occasions over the last 2 years, where they would probably read maybe my registration plate through their police systems and know that the car was insured and registered to a particular company, but yet they still pull you over on the basis that you fit a profile.
Yeah.
I think stop and searches would probably work. The police have a way and a means of knowing what type of individuals are involved in gangs and particularly heavy crime.
Well, not really. They just pick on young black men.
Well, there is that, yeah. And there's a lot of time wasted doing that.
Well, exactly. I'd prefer the police didn't waste their time.
No, but the amount of times I've been pulled over for half an hour, and I've sat in the back of their car, they ran the checks and let me go on my way. A complete waste of time. And they're talking about police shortages. Surely it's just a case of maybe using the time more efficiently.
Exactly. That's all I'm asking for. Not just trawling.
No.
You see, I mean, where does that end? Because what the police could actually do, I mean, we could increase the number of police 1,000-fold, and then they could just go from house to house, doing a thorough search of every single house in the land, and they'd be bound to come up with something. Let's try that.
Completely.
All right, thanks a lot, mate.
But the random chap driving down the road in a German car isn't the guy that they're after, particularly when everything checks out. It's the guys that they're well aware of day in, day out.
Yeah, but of course the person who's driving that car, even if it checks out, might not check out themselves because they might have nicked it. Yeah, I'm just suggesting that that's a possibility. But thanks, Steve. 0345 6060 973. Andrews says, look at all the good things that Nigel Farage has done for us. He's got so many people rushing to Uncle Nigel's defence, as though he's a poor defenceless lamb. Look at all the good things that Nigel Farage has done for us. He's got us out of the EU. Like stupid laws that you have to go on a health and safety course to use the Hoover in cleaning. Have IQ levels dropped dramatically since the EU referendum? I'm just curious. Or has it always been like this? Paul says, you haven't mentioned that Trump threatens to pull out of the WTO. Well, that's old news. I wonder how long before Brexiteers think we should do the same if we leave with no deal. WTO needs us more than we need WTO. Oh, yeah, no doubt. I mean, I'm assuming you're that's all, tongue in cheek, because the contrary to that is just too awful to contemplate. Wandsworth, hi, Carol.
Oh yeah, okay. Just my logic.
we, well, according to the stats, we have less police now than we did, I don't know, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years. We have less police now, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So if there's less police on the streets, doesn't that mean there's less stop and search going on because there's less of them to do it? So why...
Well, it depends.
It depends on what?
It depends on how often they do stop and search. I mean, if a million police only stopped and searched one person, then regardless of the number of police, it would, I mean, I'm exaggerating to make a point.
Yeah, you are.
There would only be one stop and search. But if 10 police stopped 10 people a day, then those 10 police would be doing more stop and searches than the million police.
Indeed.
So
that
it ain't
means
necessarily
that,
so, yeah. It's just depends on policy.
Yeah, because that means that the fewer police would have to be increasing their stop and search rather than, continuing as they were or decreasing it. And I don't know, unless I've missed something, that it's been reported that the police have been told to increase.
Well, that's the London Mayor's Sadiq Khan's policy and has been since January.
Oh, so since January, Sadiq Khan has told the police to, the fewer police that we have, to increase their stop and search. Is that right?
That is my understanding, yeah.
Oh. Well, he needs to talk to you then, because that's not going to work.
What's not going to work?
You're just going to exhaust the police with the stop and search.
Oh, right. Well, maybe, yeah. But I mean, that is also an exaggeration, but it's a decent point. Where does stop and search end? You know, a lot of people who are saying that they want a vast increase of stop and search, they personally aren't going to be stopped and searched. You can pretty much guarantee that. We're talking about, older white people, by and large, who want to be, who want the police to crack down on just a vague, amorphous group of people that they never come into contact with. Well, it's all right for them to say, but how about we go over and search their houses for something that they shouldn't or ought to be doing?
But can I just say, and I'm not being facetious here.
Right.
I genuinely, it's a genuine question.
Yeah.
I don't think, or I don't believe, that every single black person in the country has been searched. So there are black people in the country who have maybe gone most of their life, if not all their life, without being stopped and searched by the police. Just as there are not every single white person has not been stopped and searched by the police. There must be some white people that have been stopped and searched by the police.
No,
I understand what you're saying about the proportions, but you make it sound as if every single black person in the country has been stopped.
We're getting bogged down on a race issue, which is not really what it's what this is all about. And I didn't start out on this, and I'm not going to get bogged down in which sections of society. It's the issue itself that is the thing. Does it actually work? And the statistics from New York suggest that it doesn't.
Well, tell Sadiq about this then.
Yeah, get Sadiq Khan on the phone.
Yeah, get Sadiq on the phone. Sadiq, where are you?
All right, thanks a lot, Gary. Last scene, floating above Parliament Square. Looking seductive.
Disgusting.
Yeah, that's what I meant. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk, and if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. I want to talk about this thing that was going on in Germany, because that's another misinformation that's spread about, lies spread about by the likes of you-know-who. But first, let me talk to this nice lady in Carnforth. Oh, Annie.
Oh, Nick, are you all right now?
I'm great, mate.
Good. Yeah, well, that's what I rang up about this business going on in Germany.
Yeah.
It's really, really alarming, I think, but, I mean, it's not just in Germany, is it? It's all over Europe at the moment.
What, the rise of the far right in Germany? Why would anybody be alarmed about that?
Yeah, well, what I thought was even more alarming was I heard yesterday a poll that they did in Germany of asking people, did they think that these neo-Nazis were a threat to democracy, and 75% of them said yes.
Yeah.
But I presume that means that the other 25% of them thought no, which I thought was very alarming, given their history, you know.
Yeah.
And yes, an old Uncle
Maybe
Mike,
they don't get the History Channel over there. How quickly we forget.
Well, yes, and actually, I had a German friend years ago, and she said she sort of grew up about the same time as me, during the 60s, that they were not told much about German history, and it wasn't until kind of later on it was all kind of almost brushed under the carpet.
Well, no, you mean in school?
In school, yeah.
Well, perhaps, but I mean, it's not as though they couldn't find out.
Oh no,
no.
Although maybe
the information was available.
Maybe not as easily as today with the internet and everything, but yes, and old Uncle Nige, who everybody keeps ringing in to defend, he was out there swanning about with them, wasn't he? Addressing a meeting of far-right neo-Nazis.
Well, that sounds like Nigel. Swanning. Was he swanning?
I think he was swanning, yes, he does swan about, and all this swanning about all over the world is creating a huge carbon footprint for himself, which he obviously doesn't care about because he doesn't believe in climate change.
Yeah, it's a wake on the lake.
So, yes, he's he's friends with all these kind of like Marine Le Pen and
you should
Bannon. He keeps really nice company, doesn't he?
Judged by the company you keep.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that UKIP is just really the acceptable face of the far right in this country. It's like the BNP without the violence. Nigel Farage has kind of made, he's got that kind of air of respectability and sort of like middle-class chappy sort of chap. You know what I mean?
Not to my eyes.
Well, no, not to mine, but...
To me, he has the air of a second-hand car salesman, more like an Arthur Daly to my eyes, but if you think respectability, then I'll go with that.
Well, no, not respectability really, but just middle-classness and, swilling beer and,
he looks to me like the fella at the bar in the golf club.
Yes. Well, that's what I meant, really.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, not like...
Which is another excellent reason not to play golf. Plus, you won't bump into you-know-who.
Oh, shut up!
Definitely. But what I mean is he's not the Nick Griffin type. He comes over as...
Okay, the acceptable face. Yeah. That face is, and only in this context, acceptable.
Yes, I mean, really, when you think about his views and things, and when you read the UKIP manifesto, it's completely mad.
They've got a manifesto?
Oh, they did have, yeah.
Well, it was probably written by one of their ilk. They seem to have, even Nige himself would say that they got a lot of idiots in their party.
We've got a few idiots in our party.
Yeah, no kidding.
I think they must have been writing the manifesto. For a start off, they want one of the...
Oh, I don't think I can take it.
Well, they wanted to get rid of the Climate Change Act because they don't believe in it.
No, it's a conspiracy by China to take over the world, to make us pay more taxes.
Well, that's right. So they wanted to go hell for leather with coal-fired power
clean
stations.
Coal,
clean coal and fracking. It would be really good for the environment.
You'll be able to set fire as a comfort. If it gets cold in the winter, you'll be able to set fire to the water that comes out of your kitchen tap.
Yes. Cuddle around the, sort of cuddle up to
cuddle around the sink, yeah. Here, Annie, I'm going to have to go because I'm past the break. But thanks for that, as always. 0345 6060 973, Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC.
Yeah! Dudes!
Poitou-Charentes in French France. Bonsoir, Sally.
Bonsoir, mon cher. Ça va?
Ça va okay, merci.
It's a pity about the outbreak because it could have done a lovely segue from what Annie was talking about to what one of the things I wanted to just say.
Right.
We were watching a Last of the Summer Wine DVD.
Ugh, why?
Well...
Nothing else was available? A DVD? You mean you actually went out and bought that?
No, I didn't. Not at all.
Okay, then.
Well, it was to settle an argument, really, about
which is the least funny comedy programme ever made. Was it that?
No. About whether or not Nigel Farage has a female double in Nora Batty. Because the mouth and the eyes...
I'm going to have to look up... I have a vague idea. I mean, I looked at that programme briefly, thought, this is another one of those unfunny comedy programmes, so I never looked at it again. So I'll look up Nora...
Batty.
Nora Jones comes up, though you can't mean that.
No, Nora Batty.
Nora Batty.
I think the actress who plays her is actually dead now, but well, we're now referring to him here as Nigel Batty.
Nigel, yeah. Well, that might not necessarily have anything to do with the way he looks. I'm not sure. I don't think so. I don't think he looks like Nora Batty.
Well, the mouth is quite straight across, kind of like the frog mouth, and the eyes are no.
Well, I don't know. I think we're straying into the realms of offence here, Sally.
Oh, okay. Well, it's probably just the wine then.
Yeah.
Right. I had I know you've been given lots of advice for your throat, and I was really disappointed.
All of which doesn't work, by the way. Lemon.
Well, I know, because...
And I mean, if you think about it, why would it? Because what you need is soothing, and everything that people have been telling me to do is acidic and sharp and grating. Lemon, honey.
Yeah.
Honey actually makes it worse.
Right.
I've been sucking on honey all week long, and I'm thinking... this is feeling like it's actually making things worse, but people keep telling me to have honey, so I'll just stick with it. And
Right.
I stopped taking it, and I got better.
Well, I think if you've got a cold, then the whiskey, honey, and lemon is probably
whiskey.
a good idea.
That would seem like drinking Drano whiskey.
Well, yeah, maybe.
You want something that's more soothing.
Well, we have the remedy in our family, you see. This is why I was ringing.
Okay.
But so many people were giving you advice. I didn't feel like, ringing last weekend.
Yeah. Does it involve taking a file and scraping the inside of my mouth?
Yeah, something like that. No. It's based on... do you remember in the old days when they used to take out tonsils on a regular basis?
Yeah. I should have had mine. Yeah, I should have had mine out because I used to get tonsillitis all the time.
I did too, but I managed to stay with mine.
What are they for, though? I mean, what good do tonsils actually do you?
Well, if you get old enough, they shrink anyway. Anyway, what?
Well, what doesn't?
No.
Shrinking and sagging, and it's just awful. What
all the
happens.
above? Yeah. No, it's just that what they used to give you in hospital was ice cream, and that's what we do for a sore throat.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Because,
But, I know that people are shouting at the radio saying, oh, no, you can't have any dairy because it makes you phlegmy. But that's exactly what I want.
You've only got a sore throat. You don't have a cold. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, it's the back end of a cold. It's the back end of a cold. I mean, I've been, I don't mean to get graphic, but I've been, coughing up phlegm. Like a geezer in Yellowstone Park.
Okay, well, you've probably got a chest infection then.
Yeah, a little bit.
But just the actual managing your voice thing.
Yeah.
Next time you get one, try some ice cream because it will soothe and take the soreness out of it.
Yeah. Well, funny you should say that because at the moment I'm sipping on. I don't wish to mention any brand names, so I'll just call it Chocolate Nesquik. And that seems to be doing the trick.
Oh, right. Okay, then.
It's not ice cream, but it's it's like melted ice
cooling.
cream. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing I wanted to say
and another thing.
Yeah.
But by the way, I just when you do a radio, you've got headphones on, so you can hear your voice much louder than you can ordinarily, which is why some DJs get really lost in their own voice, and there's hey baby. That's why DJs on the radio sound like hey, because they've got their headphones turned up really loud. Hang on, the lights have gone out. I'm just going to wait. So they've got their headphones turned up really loud, and they just get lost in the sound of their own voice because they've never heard it like that before. Which is why radio DJs are all like hey, that's because ordinary, and you can recreate this experience by putting your fingers in your ears and speaking. You get the same kind of experience, which is why, and this is excellent advice, this is the only advice I'm going to give anybody who wants to be on the radio, other than don't do it, which is the best advice you'll ever get, which is what Kenny Everett told me when I met him many years ago. Don't do it, he said. And I didn't listen to him. Should have done. Well, no, I shouldn't have done because I've had a great time. But there's just so many people who didn't. I got lucky. Still am. Turn your headphones down. This is excellent advice. Turn your headphones down, and then you won't sound like a dipstick on the radio.
Okay.
But anyway.
Right. Yes.
But what I was going to say is, I like the way that this sounds. I mean, if only I had a voice like this all the time, then maybe I'd be a tremendous success, Sally.
Well, it's not dissimilar to your normal voice. I mean, you're still there.
Right.
I mean, it's nice.
Underneath the treacle and the honey.
More ice cream. More ice cream. Or more Nesquik.
Well, I'm going to look forward to that. Yeah, that sounds like an excellent idea.
Can I just say two more things?
And another thing.
Right. Changing the clocks, as you were talking about yesterday.
Oh, yeah, the clocks.
Please, 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 can you organise for a petition or something to make sure that the UK follows what Europe does? Because otherwise there's going to be 2 hours difference, and I can't stay up until 3 o'clock in the morning. I struggle at 2 o'clock, but I do it.
Do you have the internet where you live, Sally? Has France got the internet?
I don't have the internet.
Do they have electricity yet in France?
Intermittently.
Right.
Lots of power cuts.
Well, get the internet squirted up your house, Sally, and you can download this show. You can listen to it any time you like.
Unfortunately, I can't do that.
Right.
So
it's out of your hands.
It is, and I don't have a mobile phone either.
Oh, my God, you're like living in the dark ages.
Yeah, I am.
You don't have the internet, you don't have a mobile phone?
No.
Well, you have, you're unplugged.
I am, more or less, yes. Except when it rains.
Now, what time does it get dark there? Because we were talking about this last night, and if you weren't aware of this, the European Union have voted. The will of the people is apparently to stop the clocks going back in October, so that you will get an hour extra light at the end of the day, which is when you can use it. Because if it's an hour extra at the beginning of the day, you can't use that because you're going to work, you're fumbling about in the bathroom.
Disgusting.
Stop fumbling. What are you doing in there? And
yes, no,
so that's what Europe is going to do. That's correct, isn't it? I mean, I think they've still got to ratify it or whatever, but they're going to move in that direction. Is it going to be this October?
It'll probably happen.
Is it this October they're going to start?
I don't know. I imagine it's probably next October.
Well,
I've no idea.
But see, wouldn't that be
anyway,
marvellous?
You must make sure you do the same.
God, I hope so.
Okay, and just very, very quickly, this, on its way to you, and I'm not responsible for the actual consignment arrangements, but there is a consignment of bird food on its way to you.
Bird food?
Mm.
Is that wise?
Why?
You're sending bird food through the post?
Yes.
What kind of bird food?
Wild bird food and...
But what form does it take?
Dried in packets.
But seed?
Yeah.
Right.
And berries and all proper brands, you know, not...
I think I'll use it as muesli. That sounds delicious.
No, but there's also some special food for winter.
Ah, right.
You know, because apparently they like different things in winter or need different things in winter.
Is that right? Because the stuff that I'm putting out for them at the moment, there's fights out there on a regular basis. There's just, you know how many baubles you put in a Christmas tree? And the tree outside my house, there's literally that many birds, because there's only 2 perches to get at the seeds that I put out for them. Right. And normally, almost all of the birds, they alight on the perch, grab a seed, and then fly away in about a second. But there's goldfinches, which are beautiful to look at. They arrive on the perch, and then they don't budge. They sit there for minutes on end, just chewing and chewing and chewing away. And any bird that tries to land there doesn't get a look in. They sort of see them off. They're tough little things, those goldfinches. They don't budge for anything. And so, they chew through so many seeds. I bought 50 kilograms, almost like 2/3 of my body weight in seeds. And I put them in the basement, which was a big mistake, huge. And I put the bags in the basement. There were 2 enormous bags. And I decided to check on them. and there's almost nothing left. Something had got in the basement and is eating my seeds. Coincidentally, there was a dead rat in the garden. Maybe one of the local cats took care of it for me.
Quite possibly.
Yeah. Hey, Sally, I'm going to have to go because I'm past the break, but thanks for that.
Okay, bye.
Ta-da. I hope I don't have to pay the duty. 0345 6060 973. It's just past 12:30. The news headlines with Zora Sullivan.
Everything is going extremely well.
Well, the Brexiteer ultras are still, they're still been stirred up like a hornet's nest. Graham says, at least Nigel's never hobnobbed with the IRA and other terror groups like Corbyn has. We never seem to hear him ridiculed on your show, Nick. That's because you have selective hearing, Graham. I ridiculed Jeremy Corbyn plenty. I just haven't talked about this anti-Semitism thing because I don't think that you can screw any humour out of anti-Semitism. Plus, I know the kind of calls that I'll get, and I don't want to sit here stewing in misery for 3 hours. And maybe he has not hobnobbed with the IRA. I believe that that's probably correct, but he certainly has hobnobbed with far-right white supremacists, groups that carry the swastika, people who have been described as Nazis. Is that an improvement? I don't know. You tell me, Graham. This anonymous message says, sore throat, too much Ramoning, ! My God, you people are just... what I find most comical is the people that throw the word Ramona about just never stop whining. Can you even hear yourselves? Whinging, whining and moaning, eh, Nige?
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Here's a call in Brussels. Hello, Michael.
Hello.
Michael.
Hello, Nick. Yeah, your last caller started about Nigel Farage, and
are we on speakerphone?
I think the last comment that was made about
Michael, are we on speakerphone?
No.
Oh, it's a terrible line. But anyway, can you speak directly into the phone?
Yes, I'm speaking. Can you hear me now?
Much better.
I've got a cheap phone, that's what it is.
Right. Go ahead.
Do you know can you hear me now?
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, your problem with your throat, you need a minced ginger.
A what?
That's what you need. Minced ginger.
Right.
You've got to add that to the honey and lemon, right? Because all this mucus you got. Because Michael Van Straten was on quite a few years ago, and he said that's dairy products produce that. Because I've got the same problem.
Yeah, I don't really get that because the dairy products go into your stomach, but the mucus. This is not a conversation I really want to have, but mucus comes out of your lungs. But the stomach's not connected to the lungs.
No.
So explain that to me.
I'm not sure I'm not sure how it works. Anyway, Nigel Farage. Well, the whole Brexit thing. I mean, when in 2016...
I can't believe we're talking about Brexit again. I mean, of all the subjects in all the world, this was the last one I wanted to bring up. But some Brexiteer ultras can't talk about anything else.
No. Should we talk about Aretha Franklin?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they made her sound like a cross between Florence Nightingale and Mother Teresa.
Well, it was her funeral. Well, what did you expect them to do? Critique her performances?
No, but when what's his name? The Godfather of Soul.
James Brown.
Yeah, he checked out Christmas Day, didn't he? Yeah, there wasn't a big thing about that, was there?
You're kidding. There wasn't a big thing about James Brown dying?
Well, there was, but they didn't, it just wasn't on the similar sort of scale.
Well, I'm no expert about the life of Aretha Franklin, but maybe she was more politically significant than James Brown, who was, the world's hardest working entertainer. But that's a little bit different.
No, but I mean, Bowie I'm not a Bowie fan, but he had a lot more going for him, didn't he? As a singer-songwriter, I would have thought.
Well, perhaps, but again, not as politically important. I mean, I don't really want to get bogged down in black,
Brexit.
the black rights movement in America, but I think that she was a significant part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the apart from the unbelievably great legacy of music, I think that she was politically significant as well.
Well, yeah, but she was only a pop singer.
No, I don't think you can say that. She wasn't a pop singer. She was, again, you're dragging me into a conversation that I know not enough about to have.
Yeah.
So let's just concentrate on the fact that she was one of the greatest singers of all time. She has a back catalogue that almost nobody can touch. Very few people can touch her for the back catalogue, and that she meant a tremendous amount to people in her community, obviously. Plus, Stevie Wonder sang As, so, beat that.
Okay, yeah.
Best funeral ever. Now, David Bowie had the best death ever, but he didn't. His funeral sort of came and went. It wasn't a public event. But nobody in history had a better death than David Bowie. He made his death into an art, like an artwork. It was like a performance art.
Yeah, but when Aretha Franklin passed away, I had to turn off the television radio because it was on all day, every station.
Right. Well, you made your protest felt.
Yes.
Right.
Even LBC, BBC was the worst because every time I turned on, there was music on the radio. Anyway.
Oh God, I know all that awful music. If only people would stop making music. I don't know what point you're trying to make here, Michael.
No, I wanted to talk about Brexit.
Oh
well,
God.
Brexit, really, yeah. I thought I'd cheer you up.
Yeah. You want to talk about Brexit? All right, I'll give you for the rest of this minute. How does that sound? Which is 40 seconds starting now.
Right. When I was at Friends before the vote in 2016, up to 20 people were back at different times in London. I said to them, "Which way are you going to vote?" And give me a few reasons. Without fail, the ones that said that Brexit, there was too many foreigners. And I mean, my daughter works in South London. She said all the cleaners there are Colombian.
Well, who the hell wants to be a cleaner? See, this is what I'm chipping into your minute here, but this is what I don't understand. I've heard. I guess so. I have the power. This is what I don't understand about people who say, people have taken our jobs. These jobs are not ones that people would actually want to do if they could do any other jobs. Overnight security, cleaning offices overnight, being a traffic warden, pulling tubers out of the ground and some farm in the middle of nowhere. These are jobs that nobody wants to do. And you know what, kids? People, don't worry about it, because all of those jobs are going to be taken over by robots before you know it, and then people won't have any reason to come here. So your problem is going to be solved. But in the meantime, those jobs are going to still have to be done, and if they're not done by white Eastern Europeans, then they're going to be done by black Africans from the Commonwealth. And if that is the result that you were after when you voted to leave the European Union, then colour me amazed. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
That's the end of your minute.
No.
I've got to go, Michael. Thanks, mate. 0345 6060 973. I'm very strict. Time's up. How did I get dragged into talking about the EU? I tell you why. It was because certain individuals, not necessarily that last caller, but the people the messages that I've been reading out, people are absolutely obsessed with that issue. And I've said it before, it's because they think that when we're out, that their lives are going to somehow magically improve. They won't. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Write it down. Put it on a hat. If you're poor now, you will be poor afterwards. If you're rich now, you'll still be just fine. Southwark, hello, Barry.
Hello there.
Hello there.
Good morning. Just that last caller, the silence at the end of the call.
That was my favourite part.
That was absolutely beautiful. That said it all. It was so obvious what he was saying when you said, more black Africans. You just don't like other people.
No, I don't think that we were disagreeing. I don't think he and I were disagreeing. I don't think he actually got to make an actual point other than... I mean, I was agreeing with what he was saying. If there was another point coming afterwards, Well, unfortunately, we ran out of time.
But yeah, unfortunately, he rambled a bit. But really quickly, couple of quick points. The funerals this weekend. Firstly, did you see the lecturer's pastor holding on to Ariana?
Ariana Grande, whose work I'm unfamiliar with, but she certainly can sing. She was pulling away from him. She was like, "Let me go, man. Who are you?"
I didn't have the sound on, but it looked like he was like, "That's the woman." He really looked like he was.
Yeah, I don't know what he was saying, but he was a bit. Maybe it was just a mistake. Maybe it was just caught up in the moment, and he was just. I don't know what he was saying. Maybe he was referring comments to her personally.
No, you put your hands on the shoulder and you are polite.
Well, you probably just don't touch her at all.
Yeah, probably.
That would be a better idea. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing to say.
Unless you have written permission, it's probably best not to touch these days.
I think it was best not to do it then. I don't think it was good for him. But the other funeral, McCain one. I found myself watching it, and I was quite surprised that I was watching it. But I wanted to remark at the differences between the presidents.
Oh, God. Was it ever? It was just, it was, talk about illuminating. It was like, I was going to say night and day, but it was like black and orange. It was just, it was excruciating. To look at those three, Obama and Bill Clinton, who, by the way, very good. Of all of them, I think Bill Clinton is probably the best speaker.
Yeah.
And even George W. Bush, who at the time seemed to be the benchmark of American presidential stupidity,
absolutely,
now looks like a world statesman by comparison.
He does. I looked at him and I thought, look at it. I thought, oh, George Washington, you look like a real statesman.
Yeah.
And I mean, Barack Obama. I mean, you listen to them, man. Just the way that they just the whole lot of them just silently put down Trump. It was so subtle.
And you can, and that picture that was circulated widely of Donald Trump in the Oval Office, folding his arms as though to protect himself against all these questions about why he wasn't saying anything about McCain. That's just, that's him in a nutshell. Whiny little baby.
Yeah, utterly insecure. He's such an insignificant. He really shouldn't be there. He should stay on the golf course. I couldn't believe the difference. And I'm just even looking at George Bush and saying, wow.
How anybody can look at him and think, that's my president. It's just mind-boggling to me. What kind of a person would see that man and think, yeah, that's my leader?
Yeah, I mean, but surely people should open their eyes, and anybody who's that plugged into it, I mean, you can see they spoke about the responsibility of the United States on the world stage, and then you look at, I'll segue back to Annie and the Germany situation. Now, clearly, you have to have more responsibility in what you're saying, who you're supporting, how you're supporting them, and he's not supporting people in the right way. So therefore, he's allowing these right-wing people to...
Yeah, but that supposes that he actually cares about any of this. He doesn't care, obviously, and it's evidenced over and over and over again. He doesn't care about anything or anybody but his own instant gratification. That's all he's concerned about. Mentally, he's a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
And depressingly, Barry, he is the leader of the human race. There's nobody above him. He's not only the leader of the free world, but I've said it before, if an alien from space came down and demanded to be taken to the leader of the human race, we'd have to introduce them to Donald Trump. Barry, I'm going to have to go because I'm past the break, but thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. Nick Abbott, LBC.
Come on, we're running late.
Lewisham, hello, Jane.
Hello, Nick. Right, for your sore throat, chamomile tea.
No, that doesn't sound... No, doesn't sound like a good idea.
Chamomile tea is a natural antiseptic.
Yeah,
right?
See, but antiseptic, you don't want to put an antiseptic on something that's already sore. It's not a cut.
You, Nick, try it.
No, I'm not going to try
it. Don't listen.
I'm not going to listen. I refuse to learn my lesson.
Well, I can only tell you. Listen, fact, we've got a messed up, overpopulated...
It's a crazy, mixed up world. Yeah.
No, and That's it. We was warned about this in 1977. There was Alfred Sherman and lots of others, and they discussed...
1977?
Yes.
Oh, nobody was paying any attention because we were all dancing around to the Swell Maps and the Sex Pistols.
Rock and roll! That's about
And
it.
the Desperate Bicycles.
Right.
And, the Fall.
So anyway, right, we've now got 7 billion people and our world can't cope. So what's going to happen, we're either going to get nuclear bombed, germ warfared, or we're going to get diseases, starting off with a sore throat, like you've got. Otherwise, and be wise, right? What we need is the whole world's people to take the one-child policy until we get to that 3 billion.
No.
And as for Donny,
see, that won't
Donny, he has to get educated,
No,
and
forget
he
it.
has to be.
You can't educate somebody who's 173 years old. He ain't going to learn no new lessons.
Educate him. He has to go round. I've said this before. He has to go round and have a cup of tea and a chat with Jack Lippis, Lippes. He has to get his wisdom from him, and that's our
Who is that?
whole world sorted.
Who is it?
Jack Lippis.
Yeah,
Look
who is
on your
that?
computer.
No, I won't. I don't do homework.
Oh, you annoy me. Well, ask someone else to go on the computer.
Just tell me.
He is the wisest person on
Well, what's he said?
the planet.
Is he this one-child policy person? Because that's a really dumb idea.
Not really, but well, he would be now. He's in his 90s. He's 92, 93. So, Donny, hurry up and get round.
Well, what is it that he said that's so great?
Read about him, Jack Lippis.
I'm not going to read. I don't do homework. It's the weekend.
That's it. A few selected people are aware of him, but the whole world needs to know about him.
But what's he said?
The whole world.
What has he said?
Read all about him.
Oh, my God, you're just
on
refusing
the
to
web.
answer this question, Jane. What is it that he
Yes, I
said
am.
that is so great?
Just read.
No, okay, forget it. No, I'm not going to do reading. Nobody reads anymore. I'll wait till the video comes out. Reading is very, very bad for your eyes.
Affirmative.
No, the one-child policy won't work. It's because if you just note it down, you'll see that it's an inverted pyramid, not an inverted pyramid of piffle, because that's Boris Johnson's cute phrase. Hey, Boris.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
If you look at if you just write it down, just put 6 marks on a pad, each representing a person, and so you've got 3 pairs of people, and if they each underneath it you put 1, 2, and 3 children that they have, it actually might work better if it's like 4 pairs, and then there won't be incest. So you've got 4 pairs of people. Underneath them, they've got 4 children, right? Now, so you've got 2 pairs of children. Now, each of those children have 1 child. Now, you see the pyramid already forming? So now you've got 2 children underneath the 2 pairs of children that came from the 4 pairs of adults. Are you with this so far?
No.
Just write it down and you'll see it appear before your very eyes. And so the last 2 people at the bottom of this pyramid so far, they have 1 child. And there you have a perfect pyramid. And what that means is that within 4 generations, you've got 1 person taking care of, let's add them up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 people. 1 person who's economically active is now taking care of 14 people in a one-child policy. It don't work. Just think about it for a moment and you'll see that I am completely correct in every respect.
Correct.
I mean, they tried it in China, it don't work. It's because it leaves too much onus on too few people. You have to keep the birth rate up because you need a large population of of economically active people and helpers and, people who are going to take care of all of us in our dribbling dotage. Hounslow. Hello, Patrick.
Hi, Nick. Yeah, I just wanted to say, nice show. Listen to you every Friday.
Nice.
Brilliant.
We're
Yeah.
damned with faint praise. Nice.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to say was, I agree with what you have said, which is the numbers. It's to do with the police. Time and time again, I keep hearing that there's blame on the police numbers being cut. But what I would say is that it's not only a numbers game, but it's the quality of policing that's important.
Yeah. Got to be smart. No, yeah, that's what I mean. You have to be not just numbers. Numbers don't mean nothing if they're not used intelligently. You got to be. You got to use them smartly.
Smartly, yes,
Yeah.
correct. Because
increased smartness. That's what we want.
Increased smartness, and also the detection rate. Because we've heard of many instances in which cases have come to court and they've collapsed because the evidence, whatever it is that was being provided by the police, was not suitable or had been challenged in court, and that's got to be down to the way that it was collected.
Yeah,
or
that's an insufficient amount of smartness.
This is correct. So it's more of a quality policing rather than quantity. Of course, we do need a number of police to keep us safe, but
exactly right. There needs to be more smartness in the world, and we could start with the leader of the free world.
So I went to the Wharton School of Finance, which is considered the best business school, okay? Got to be very smart to get into that school, very smart. I go to Wharton. I'm smart. I went to the best school. I went to the Wharton School of Finance, Ivy League. I'm smart. I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words. There's Donald Trump, an intellectual. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm like a smart person. I go to Wharton. I'm smart. I'm like a smart person. I went to the best school. I went to the Wharton School of Finance, Ivy League. I'm smart.
Yeah, you sound really, really smart, Donny. Yeah, keep it up. 03. Oh, what am I doing? This is the end of my little show. You can download our app and take us here, there, and everywhere, baby. You'll find it on the internet. Have you seen the internet? Oh, the stuff that's on there, you wouldn't believe it. They got pussycat videos, puppy dogs doing cute things. It's fantastic. You should take a look. If you download our LBC app, you can stick it up your iPhone and your Android and tap on Catch Up.